There you have it, Supreme Mixtape. Their opponents, the underdogs in this series, featuring many known players for the Western scene. Wiz is a player that comes to mind. A player is very famous for his streams and also wanting to play in NA, but now he's playing in Korea, not only in the hardest region, but their first match is against their toughest opponent they will ever face in L5.
I think they were actually a lot. They during the interview they said they want to grow, they want to learn from the stronger teams and improve during the league. We'll see that a lot, and even from they were in the open division just a couple of weeks ago and they did not drop a single map. Of course, there were no opponents in the lower league, but coming into HGC Korea, they're gonna have a lot of hard time going into the league.
No Chat has a lot of experience playing in online tournaments and also playing at Invent's Power League. This is going to be the first time he's playing in a league of this caliber. And of course, Dudu, no stranger to the pro scene, one of the better Valas that we have here in Korea. So something to look out for. This is the team. I mean, there's kind of a curse at OGN that the teams that win a championship, that win an OGN tournament, never win a consecutive one. No one has ever won an OGN tournament twice. Now, of course, this is HGC. It's hosted here by OGN. We'll see if that curse continues. Will Supreme Mixtape be the team that wins, the underdog team that never had a title before? If the curse continues, maybe this is the team. But they've got a tough road ahead of them, having to face L5 in their first match. Definitely could be demotivating if they get crushed here.
Yeah, this team has been out there a little bit over a month and a half, so it hasn't been too long since the team formed. They have a lot of team comps, but their colors are not actually set yet, so they have a lot of work to do.
So we do see our bans here, of course, going to be Braxis and my Korean's rusty on this one. What's
Infernal Shrines.
Infernal Shrines, that's right. Braxis and Infernal Shrines. And the rest of the map pool, of course, is as follows. It's going to be the HGC map pool.
And it looks like the first map is highlighted as the Cursed Hollows. And it looks like we're going to go into Cursed Hollows. And of course, it is the same from all the other regions, NA and EU. We'll have the fixed map pool, and then each team will ban one map, and then we'll go into game number 1 soon.
That's right. The bans are, of course, Supreme Mixtape banning Infernal Shrines, and Braxis was banned by L5. We are going to be starting on Cursed Hollow, which is Supreme Mixtape's map pick. So it will be L5's first ban as we go into the very first ban pick for this tournament.
So excited. Yes, there goes Zarya. I was about to mention this. Supreme Mixtape has a heavy Zarya going around team comps. They always need a Zarya in the middle, and No Chat especially is pretty good on Zarya. And other than that, they're already asking a question like, No Chat, what else can you do?
And there's the instant Vala ban. Now, you might be surprised as to what these bans look like because it's very different than what you see in NA and in EU. There's a lot of things that we know from talking to the players, of course, but I want to just start here as our starting point as to what is going to be standard. As we see our first pick, Falstad, starts to feel like summer season with that one sliding into the top there on this large map. And we're going to see Malfurion locked in here with Zeratul. So Malfurion obviously very high priority right now. The insta-locks on those picks though. And Zeratul kind of an unusual one to see this early on.
But still, it was as expected. They were locking in that quickly. It's like, that was expected. We knew this was going to happen. The Supreme Mixtape, they really needs to have something. As you mentioned before, Dudu is just so good on Vala.
Now, this patch is, of course, the pre-Valera patch. Just to put that out there for you guys, it's not going to be the reworked Tassadar. So he's definitely something that we're going to be looking into this weekend, as, of course, this is not on the current live patch. Varian and Dahaka. So already locking down 2 global heroes here, and a very powerful warrior is very popular in Korea in Varian. We do see him sometimes used in the West as well. And it's not a clear ban right now if you're Supreme Mixtape. Going to this one, they already do have, of course, a healer, so they could try to lock that down.
They could either ban even Ariel or Rhaegar in this case, because this is such a big map.
Sure.
Because they already have 2 global, they're not going to pick Brightwing or something. But still, Supreme Mixtape, they also have to think about their own bans and what they're going to pick.
Sure. I think the Brightwing ban would be more likely on L5's side. They may look to just ban Rhaegar here. The problem with banning a healer is that because all healers are still available, it's very weak, of course, with the exception of Malfurion, but we're no longer in this meta where the heal is the choke. The choke usually goes into warriors.
Yeah, that's right. And Supreme Mixtape really taking all that time
All right, well, we've got a few more seconds here on that one. It is going to be the Rhaegar ban, as I mentioned. It's the safest healer ban here on this map with Wolf Run being that really powerful level 1. We're going to see the Ragnaros ban come out. No surprise here. Maybe even surprised it made it this far through the draft, but Korean team's not prioritizing him as highly currently. As we do see that Zeratul gets relocked there. And it will, of course, be Supreme Mixtape's picks now. They need a warrior and a healer and a ranged damage.
They need a heavy front line, because if they have Falstad, Varian, and the Haka, they're going to grab onto whatever they want to. Like, literally, if they grab onto Zeratul, Zeratul will be dead in 2 seconds.
Sure. The lack of range damage is a bit concerning as well at this moment in time. With Vala removed, Falstad already gone. You know, this could be a composition that uses a gray main, but it's very unlikely at this point.
They can even go for Tychus if they need some DPS.
Sure.
I don't think Raynor is the best choice here. And Vala was taken out.
There's Li Ming. Okay. Li Ming and ETC making it very far down into this draft.
Okay, they're trying to hide the DPS until the very end. They've at least picked the mage, and L5 they need another mage and possibly, and they need a healer now.
Well, they definitely are going to need to pick up their support. And in terms of damage, they have a lot of options here. They could even run with something like a Sylvanas. They already have 2 global heroes. They don't have any, you know, counter Sylvanas except the Zeratul, which, you know, could pose a threat to the Sylvanas here. So it's a little bit scary to pick into that, but it's something they could consider running here as well as kind of a ranged DPS that also has a lot of pushing power, solo pushing power. They already have the Falstad. They already have the Dahaka. So I'm leaning away from the Sylvanas right now. There's a possibility they just go with Tychus here for that ranged, you know, auto attack damage. They've got 10 seconds here left to choose.
They need that too, and they need some pokes in case when they fight over the tributes. And for Supreme Mixtape, yep, there we go.
There's the Tychus, and Karzim, no surprise with the supports left available here.
That's a lot of damage coming out from L5.
Yeah.
Even Karazim, like Karazim is still a support, but Karazim you can do tons of damage with 7-sided strike plus all the melee damage.
So no Swoy Brightwing, sadly, not at least in our first match. Well, we didn't expect to see it on L5's side, already having 2 global heroes. And left here for Supreme Mixtape, there's no clear cut pick. You know, honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised or disappointed with a Tyrael choice here. You do empower, of course, the Zeratul and the ETC with that in terms of Mosh Pit potential, but I don't think we'll necessarily see Mosh Pit on this map, as the global that Stage Dive provides is quite powerful.
Yeah, right now their front line is pretty weak, just ETC by himself.
Yeah.
Like, long time, like before last year, ETC by himself could have done a lot better, and especially with Zarya, ETC could have stayed in the front line and not die within a couple of seconds. And L5 already choosing Tychus on the other side. They might.
Oh, Medivh.
Medivh trying to cancel out all the damage that's going to come out.
Well,
L5 does have a lot of burst damage. That's true.
I think L5 has definitely the more well-rounded composition here. Supreme Mixtape could try to make some magic happen with the Medivh pick, especially in conjunction with Zeratul. But it just doesn't feel like there's a theme to the picks here for Supreme Mixtape, whereas L5 is well-rounded, has good global heroes to control soaking, and I think they've got the better one. But guys, it is time. HGC Korea is started here. We're going to our very first game of the tournament. It is L5 against Supreme Mixtape on Cursed Hollow, and G-Clef and I will see you in-game. L5 in blue for this best of 5. SC on Tychus, Nacho Jet on Falstad, Junga on Dahaka, Noble S on Varian, and Swoy on Karzim.
In red on the right side, it is Supreme Mixtape Scarlet on Malfurion, Dudu on Li Ming, Wiz on Zeratul, Judy on ETC, and No Chat on that Medivh.
All right, here we go. Starting things off at level 1s. Seems to be a push towards the bot here overall. 2 and 2, actually 3 and 2. And Dahaka is going to be the solo top laner, as he often is. And we will see an auto attack build out of Falstad. It's not going to be Mage Falstad, which kind of splits up the damage types here, which is going to become more and more important as more types of armor are added to this game. Only a few heroes having that right now. The problem with being this aggressive in lane, of course, is the ETC threat, which you're going to see here come in, but it's going to be a relatively even trade between these two teams.
And look at that, Medivh. I think the biggest point of Supreme Mixtape during teamfight, if they were able to put that force of will onto the right target at the right time to cancel out all that damage. If Nochet is not able to do that, like ETC is just gonna blow up from Tychus and Falset damage, and Karazim also doing a lot of damage from the side. That will probably work. I know ETC will picking ETC will probably have to rotate up and down, trying to take the lead from the very beginning, but it's not gonna work so far against an experienced team like L5.
Looks like Supreme Mixtape understands that L5 also is a team that, hold that thought here, we're going to see this power slide root combo here. Not enough to get the finish, although Sway does take quite a bit of damage there, eating one more turret shot as well. But it's important to note that they actually went Scouting Drone, which is usually used in the rest of the world mostly as a tool to detect cloaked heroes. But in this case, it's just going to be used for extra vision like a ward that you might see in other games in similar genre. Yeah,
for more of a map control, where how the enemy team's rotating. And that's also a quite famous pick in Korea. Noblesse is in trouble, and will he be
Judy
by Judy right there.
Nachogen rotates down a bit too slow, in fact missing a little bit of EXP there as well, unfortunately. It is going to be Iron Fist Karazim. We didn't really talk about the talent builds all too much just yet. But he is going to be going for a little bit more damage. But it's just interesting because when you don't go Shandos with this type of composition, you lose a lot of cooldown reduction, especially on Zeratul and Li Ming that you might have going into a fight, as well as the extra mana. But it's not a bad choice by any means. It helps them with the vision, as you said. And ETC is such a powerful early game hero. And Judy making a name for himself already. You know, we saw Supreme Mixtape saying he was one of the key players going into this tournament. And it was all him, nearly getting 2 picks, but finally with that body block, securing the first kill in this game. And they control already this first tribute.
Yes, that's right. First tribute already going through, and L5 really Falstad and Dehaka still staying on the bottom. They might actually give up this one and just decide to push the middle and the bot lane. And they actually do give up this one. And is this the first time we see Swoy on Karazim? He usually does the range supports.
He really does like Brightwing for the most part. In general, Ariel, something we see him play quite a lot. We have seen him play Karazim in the past, but he's not known for it. Like when you think of Karazim, you think of Bakery, right? You think of Hyde, but you don't, and sometimes Merryday, right? But you don't really think of Swoy as a Karazim player. So definitely not his comfort pick here, but something he's clearly been practicing, but he's going to prioritize it here versus the others. Brightwing not really a good fit for this team composition, especially up against all the CC they have on Supreme Mixtape. Judy's just going to trade here for some damage. Nitrogen actually eating a lot of it. Yeah, Judy dodges that hammering, so ends up being a good trade there.
We don't actually see solo kills too much in this meta. We used to sometimes, especially when you had Rich in the lane somewhere, but nowadays the rotations, the game became so much more macro than micro. It is still micro, but it is a lot more going towards the macro of the game. And L5 is known for the team that does micro so well.
Yeah. All right, let's see what happens here with the second tribute. Already seems to be controlled pretty well by Supreme Mixtape. Judy here getting damage denied, and already a channel coming in. Zeratul going to get that tribute. Meanwhile, Swoy taking a lot of damage. Great protect here onto Judy, but he eats so much damage he will get taken out. But will it be worth it, as now L5 has Curse Point against them with one more tribute to give Supreme Mixtape the Curse. Yes, they're down a talent tier. Yes, they're down an entire level in EXP due to the global soaking. Dehaka's always in the lane alone, always getting that extra soak. So the EXP lead goes to L5, but that could be turned around in just a moment if Supreme Mixtape is able to get this next tribute.
That's right, L5 has been soaking so much more compared to Supreme Mixtape, and I know they've given up two tributes already, but still, that's a lot of EXP to catch up. And Supreme Mixtape, as I said before, having ETC alone as a tank in the front line, we just saw ETC just blowing up, even with that force of will protecting him. We're going to see that a lot of the time, and if you lose ETC, they're not even going to try to team fight, and then L5 knows that already, it seems like.
Yep. Noblesse taking a lot of damage here, getting caught and body blocked. Slowed here as well. Wiz teleports back in. He gets knocked away by the face melt as well. He will go down here. And that is going to be another kill for Supreme Mixtape. trying to catch up here. It's going to make taking this tribute a lot easier, and it looks like L5 is not even going to contest. They're going to try to get their heroics here, but level 10 should be reached by Supreme Mixtape through this tribute very shortly afterwards. As long as they split and soak, they don't want to push too heavily in one lane. They need to have EXP in all 3 lanes as they do structural damage here. And L5 just going to sit back and defend. They are going to have 10 first, and they're just going to lose a lot of structures here. But in terms of late game compositions, I think both teams actually have quite good late game. It's hard to pick one team or the other and say, oh, this is the better late game. So this is a slight lead, I'd say, for Supreme Mixtape, even though they're down in EXP. Nacho Jin here may get jumped on. He has to use his 10 Gust. He gets it right away and escapes. The portal used here to perhaps aggressively chase, but already Gust with a much longer cooldown in recent times. Wasted for Nacho Jin. He has to fly away. Will soak top.
That's the thing about Medivh, having the Medivh as an enemy. It's just so much harass, just having... Oh, Falstad actually...
Wiz was on the chase. He was there for him. Big silence here, though, and look at this. Supreme Mixtape is going hard right now. The Protect here going to keep No Chat alive a lot longer. He actually ports away. Such good trades right now for SMT, and I'm actually pretty impressed. I mean, did not expect to see this level of play from this team. They do hit 10 with a curse. They have a supreme lead, if you will, in structural damage.
Supreme lead.
Supreme lead.
Yes, they do. L5, compared to how it looks beginning of the fight, they were already losing half of their HP. They didn't actually lose anyone else than Nacho Jin on top, so that was good news for them. But they're still leading the level, so L5, after all that curse, Supreme Mixtape did take some kills, but that was it. That was not too much. They still have the lead somehow, and they're just taking that global advantage.
Interesting to note, too, it's quite rare to see Polybomb in competitive play, especially with Korean Medivhs. You normally see the Leyline Seal for its potential to flank and isolate targets. Also could be used as a defensive heroic, but in this case, we're going to see the Polybomb, which is quite rare. We do have, 3 big melee heroes on the side of L5, which could cause quite a bit of disruption to them. But just rare. I mean, it's not bad by any means. It's just something that we don't see too often, and I don't even want to judge it or say it's going to be good until we see it in action. I do want to point out very briefly here, L5 is running the Ballistics mounts, just showing, yeah, we are BlizzCon champions.
Yes, they are.
Just to remind everyone.
And also UTC got stage dive instead of mosh pit. Having the... Okay, No Chat just blew up right there. Maybe he was trying to harass and never got into that portal.
Yeah, I think just being a bit too greedy there with this harassment doesn't get a picture. It's going to give a lot of free structures here to L5. No contestation here. Dudu is unable to do anything on the Li Ming, and this is a mistake that really hurts. L5 able to realize that most people were missing getting that Merc camp, and so they actually pushed their advantage there onto these structures, got a kill as well. And they remain ahead in EXP, and they're actually evening up the structural damage right now, even without a curse. So it's a bit worrisome for Supreme Mixtape going into this mid-game now, as we do have now our 6th, or excuse me, 7th, I can count, I swear, tribute coming in here. Our 2nd wave of curses starting now.
They're gonna L5 is trying to come in. Noblesse doing some damage in the front. Judy gets stuck, but Star slides right into Noblesse. Got Polybomb, but she's the only one. That's the thing. If the poly does not connect with the enemy teammate, that's just almost a waste of your heroic.
It's just a worse polymorph, essentially, with a longer cooldown. If that happens, it does have a really short cooldown regardless, but you want to maximize the valve. But you can use it pretty consistently. It's just an extra skill here from Medivh that has a long cooldown. Look at the extra vision that this ward actually gives here. The scouting drone. Ooh, Judy's gonna come in. There's the root combo. The Gust helps to, help disengage here, but will it be enough? Jung's forced to actually burrow. Wiz taking a lot of damage, gets very low. No Chat trying to harass as we see a big silence.
And it looks like L5 is actually choking a little bit, trying to contest with Mixtape. And No Chat is really soaking in good damage.
Beautiful palm, though, by Swoy. Nacho Jin survives, and Zeratul is the first to fall. Swoy actually trying to get that cheeky channel in here. No Chat's on the chase. Will actually deny that. Swoy might get punished here. No, SC comes into range. Let's get that Radiant dash off. Jonah comes back in. They actually may be able to continue to contest. This is actually our first actual close tribute fight. And at the end of the day, L5 will get the channel.
I think having the well at the bottom lane decided the winner of the battle. L5 did still having from pushing all the left lane from the beginning of the game. They still have that well compared to Supreme Mixtape. They didn't have that well to gather up the HP and the MP, of course.
Sure, sure. All right. I'm just looking at builds. I want to see if there's anything crazy out of the ordinary here. We do have, of course, the banner coming up soon for Variant 2.
And NoChat just trying to just stack some of that Master's Touch.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of time.
Well, he did die earlier on as well, so that's a little bit unfortunate. But, you know, once we get to the later stages here, you can really see how Falstad scales. Like, he's the biggest scaling hero in this, you know, next to Medivh's Master's Touch. And Falstad will, once he gets his marksman finished with Giant Killer and the lifesteal that he has at level 4, be pretty unstoppable if he isn't stunned, if he's left to do free damage. So look out for that, as L5 is vastly approaching level 16 here. They do have a tribute lead, and with the globals, they're just always going to be ahead at EXP. That's something that Supreme Mixtape can't change without getting picks, something they've been unable to do since the early game.
See, L5 knows what they're doing. They have a plan with their teamwork, team comp, and they have their style. They show their color from the opening match, game number 1. Supreme Mixtape did a pretty good job following this so far, but from here now on, let's take a look at the team fight. Polybomb does go off, and it connects a little bit. But Zeratul trying to soak up some damage from the bottom, and then good boy prison going on.
Oh, big gust coming down here. This is essentially a 5v3 fight for very long on the side of Supreme Mixtape, but they still weren't able to secure any kills. NoChat trying to continue to harass, actually shields himself, wasting that skill there for just a moment. The drill continues his own, and Cleanse goes down here. Will it be enough? There's the shield. Dudu gets out, and Judy is going to go ahead and jump in, but he has to leave immediately. A very sloppy fight here for Supreme Mixtape, unable to actually find inner synergy, and 16 is reached for L5. They will now put Supreme Mixtape on first point here. They take this top 4, and there were so many heroics used there without being in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
The polybomb goes off. There's 2 members polybomb, and they don't capitalize on that moment. I think that's the biggest weakness there of that fight. Oh boy, down goes NoChat there alone as well.
Well, as a Medivh, you always have to harass the opponent, but still making it out with that portal. Sometimes you make a mistake, sometimes you get taunted by Varian, and it's impossible to get out. And I think that's what happened a couple of times when we couldn't see the screen.
Sure. Well, this is going to be a free boss for L5, and in fact, the tribute spawns right next to their boss. They may be able to double boss here, although they're a bit slow on getting that tribute location, in fact. They have globals though. Falstad's going to come in. The tribute spawns. ETC checks only, does not commit to trying to slow this. And they will double boss and curse with double boss. This may be it. I don't like to call games like this, but this may just simply be game over. Supreme Mixtape showing an early game that was quite strong, which is expected with a Zeratul and Medivh and an ETC.
That's right.
But the longer the game went on, they could not team fight as well as L5. Their comp wasn't, like I said, didn't have a theme in that sense, and they started to crumble and fall apart.
It almost looks like L5 is trying to teach them how to play this game. Like, we are the world-class champions. Like, you can have the first 3 tributes, we will still beat you down with all the macro that we can do. And they actually had, like as you talked about, the theme of L5. The flow of how teammates all move around the map, it's so much better. It's a beauty.
Well, with the tribute here taken and the curse active, these turrets will not fire. And this means that this is going to be an easy push here. The boss, they could barely even poke it. All they really have, of course, is Li Ming to poke at it and a little bit of Moonfire. They didn't even take Moonburn, of course. And this is going to be, I think, an almost certainly undefendable push. Wiz trying to do what he can here, but he goes down. Here's the big jump in from ETC. Scarlet trying to find something. Ice blocks here. They're fighting under this keep, but it's inactive with the curse. There's 2 more kills, 3 down for Supreme Mixtape.
This may actually be game if they want to go all the way in. L5 really taking that, even just blowing away at the end. We just want to hit that core.
And that should be game. The boss on the core, no shields left, 3-level lead. 7 kills, 8 kills to 9 kills to 3. And L5 will secure the first win in HGC Korea in dominant fashion. Had some issues in the early game against Judy's aggressive ETC, the body blocking, but Team fighting was better. The soaking was better. They maintained an EXP lead with their global heroes throughout the entire game. They picked Varian, and Varian was almost a non-factor in this game. It didn't really matter. Later on, of course, his banner giving extra resistance helped them in the team fights, but probably a disheartening loss here for SMT as they had a strong early game, and they got 3 tributes in a row, got that early curse, but they weren't able to capitalize on it very well.
Yep, and Supreme Mixtape really choked hard at the end after it seemed like what they prepared started not to work, and then they were choking. And what do we guys what do we want to do now? And then basically the teamwork just fell apart where L5 was staying together in the entire time.
Yeah, I want to say it was Tribute 2 on the second Tribute, or the second Curse phase.
On the top.
The top Tribute, where we saw the Polybomb go in, no capitalization. We saw ETC stage dive in and then immediately portal out.
Yeah.
There was clearly the shot calling there, the synergy, it just wasn't happening. I'm losing my words here, but it wasn't a good fight. We saw L5 much more experienced, split, and this is with Supreme Mixtape having even talent tiers. They had vision control, they had scouting drone, they had Medivh Raven form to watch everything, and they still weren't able to take that fight. It seems like people were using their heroics without calling them. When the Polybomb went down, they got lucky and caught Nitrogen, and that's the moment where you go, okay, they're both Polybomb now, they're cut off, they can't get back into the fight. This is when you stage dive in, this is when you fight. That was the big mistake there.
Seemed like the communication was one of the issues. I know they've been through some offline events, but still, this offline at OGN, this must be feeling like pretty new. And being in HGC Korea in the very top tier league and one of the best regions in the world, I'm pretty sure they're getting a lot of the pressure going into it. And then Wiz as a 0-2, you really have to mark that false stat on the back. And we saw 1v1, and then Wiz ended up losing. And then whenever he's losing, he just ended up just using Void Prison and get out. That's not how you exactly want to use false stat. You just want to keep on harassing and just escape whenever you can get a kill. Come in and get a kill, but he was just on the sides, not really doing too much.
What's interesting is, like, you might think, well, there's potentially some anti-synergy with Void Prison and Leyline Seal because they both have similar effects, right? Of course, one is a line that goes across and travels slowly. It's a little bit easier to avoid than the Void Prison traps in a small area, but it's a larger area. So it's like, well, do you really want to have 2 stasis on your team? I think so, yes, because if you have Polybomb, well, what Polybomb accomplishes is it forces everyone to split, which makes it harder to hit a good VP, and then also forces everyone to be away from each other so your stage dive doesn't work as well. I like the stage dive choice. It's better than the Mosh Pit in this case, especially on this map. But the usage and the team fighting was weak. The early game with ETC, though, really, really strong from Judy. The body blocking that we saw there as well. That's what I really got to give them props to. Their decision-making on rotations, their ability to control vision, smart in the early game. Team fighting fell apart, and Heroes of the Storm in the mid to late game, it's all about your team fighting. Vision sets you up a better team fight. Mercenaries set you up a better team fight. Controlling the map leads to that. But at the end of the day, if you have an advantage in a team fight, you can't win it even with that, then I worry that any map that goes late game, you just can't win it against L5 if you're team fighting like that.
Yeah, L5, they just knew from the beginning, and they weren't even going to the contributes. They were just pushing the lane. They were macroing from the beginning, and Supreme Mixtape didn't know at the moment what they were exactly doing, I'm pretty sure. But they were already, if you're already behind the entire macro, you just keep on falling behind unless you cut that snowball somehow. But they just did not know a way to cut that snowball, and then L5 just did whatever they wanted to from the beginning to the end.
They had that lucky third tribute spawn as well on Curse Point while they had already stolen boss, which allowed them a free double boss. SMT had to make a tough choice. They had the ETC going to check. Judy went to check. They didn't commit to actually trying to deny. No one came down. They don't have global heroes with their comp, so they can't get there very quickly. So this unfortunate position where they had to decide, are we just going to lose top keep for free to our own boss and try to contest this, or do we just let them have 2 bosses and Curse? And I think if you try to contest, you will almost certainly lose. But if you do not contest and you allow double boss with Curse, you lose the game no matter what.
They had no choice by that time already.
I think it was too late, right? They don't have any global heroes, so they kind of were just checkmated.
Well, they actually picked stage dive just to have a little bit more control of the macro, but by that time they were already pretty late, and using that stage dive just to cancel that tribute from happening, That's not the best way to use your heroic, and everyone who plays ETC should know that by now. And then when I'm pretty sure they picked stage dive to go more macro to catch up to what L5 was doing, but not even close.
You know, they didn't. So L5 even took a risk there. If you go back and look at it, you saw SC kind of flew in alone. They didn't have
Mm.
vision, and everyone had, well, especially Judy had hidden himself on the map. He was rotating over. SC took a little bit of a risk, and when you have vision control like that, you got to have a little bit of a, uh, you have a little bit of a vision advantage. You should be able to rotate faster if the team is all on the same page, which we see from top four class Korean teams when we seen in the past for Super League. World Championship at Gold Club where you had three Korean teams playing there.
Hmm.
This is not the same